to watch a TV show that explores hot-button issues like race, climate change, or immigration, let me direct you to look no further than Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone. That's right. Produced in 1959 to 1964, this show addressed social issues that often weren't addressed by the general public and made them aware of problems within their own world, addressing them through the lens of different types of space-like and Odyssey issues. Now, this leads us to the quotation that I was given today. There's a hell of a good universe next door. Let's go. By E.E. Cummings. What I believe E.E. Cummings is trying to tell us is that there are ways to escape into different, possibly better scenarios, to better universes, to greener pastures. All we have to do is leave the one we're in. But I disagree with this fundamental idea, because I believe we need to stay within our world and push through adversity, not simply run off to a better scenario. And only through pushing through this adversity are we successful. Now, I'll be looking at this in three key ways. First, through a philosophical lens, second, through a landmark court case, and finally, through an unlikely hero during the COVID crisis. Now let's start with a philosophical lens of running off to our next-door neighbor, the better universe, isn't actually going to work. See, the thing is, Aristotle's theory of virtue tells us that we can't become better people unless we repetitively practice being better people. So essentially, if we wanted to be good, better human beings that push through problems, we have to push through problems to solve them. Therefore, through that logic, running off and escaping issues that challenge us doesn't give us any tools to overcome later problems. Therefore, Aristotle teaches us that going off to better pastures isn't always greener, and on a basic fundamental level, won't make our lives any better, and won't make us more apt to overcoming adversity and the problems that we face. Now that we've explored how philosophically there is no way to essentially run off to different pastures and be successful, let's look at one key example of someone who wasn't afraid to address adversity. In 2014, the landmark Supreme Court case of Obergefell versus Hodges made gay marriage legal throughout the United States. But the man who brought the court case forward has a pretty remarkable story. See, Jim Obergefell brought forward his case because after his partner, John Arthur, died, after only 3 months of their marriage after suffering from ALS, he wasn't allowed to be named as his spouse's surviving member on his husband's death certificate, and therefore decided that he had a case to take to the Supreme Court, to the highest level. He didn't run away from adversity or act laws that challenged him. Instead, he pushed forward and ended up granting millions of people in America the right to pursue their own identities and sexualities, which was granted under the 14th Amendment. He didn't escape to a different universe. What Jim Obergefell did was head-on address the problems in his own world, and he was ultimately successful in addressing these problems. But what about kind of crazy modern issues that we don't always have the answers for? What about pushing through problems that we may be becoming tired and afraid of? Take, for example, the COVID-19 crisis currently plaguing our world. I've got an unlikely hero to show you exactly why we need to keep pushing through this adversity and problems in order to find an ultimately successful scenario. And it's all about Winter the llama. See, researchers at the University of Texas collaborated with the Health Department of Belgium and actually found that llamas in particular have antibodies in their blood that could be used as life-saving COVID treatments, meaning that when we're not afraid to push through problems in our world, not afraid to think outside the box, to challenge ourselves to be better people, we're only then able to find solutions. There would be no way to deal with the COVID crisis if we weren't actually pushing for unique scenarios and unique solvents to problems, and therefore showing us again that E.E. Cummings' ideas just simply won't make our world or ourselves better. Reflecting on his quotation, there's a hell of a good universe next door, let's go. E.E. Cummings is trying to tell us that we need to step into a different universe to be ultimately happy. But I disagree with this idea fundamentally because I believe that our world and who we are is important to improve in order to be better people. I showed this today through the philosophical lens of Aristotle's theory of virtue, through the 2014 Supreme Court case of Bergefell versus Hodges, and finally, through the example of an unlikely llama. Now, finally, what this has shown us today is the fact that, like in the Twilight Zone, we have to push for issues that may be contentious, but ultimately will make our world better.